Good evening, one and all, or good morning, perhaps good afternoon from wherever you are joining us. It is now time for cricket in whites. We're talking not about white ball cricket, which we have seen and which we will see in the coming months as well in quite the capacity, but it's time for cricket in white jerseys. And we are talking about India's tour of England, the five-match test series between England and India. Quite the rivalry, quite the history between these two. But to set some context, 18 test series between these two in England, India has only won thrice. One has been a draw, and England have obviously won it 14 times. But as has been said this time around, that India can win this one because there's this logic that has been doing rounds on the social media that after every three test series in England, India wins one. And perhaps if it were up to me, I would just use this logic in our all hourly live preview. But that's why I have the OGs of cricket news joining me. Abhishek Mukherjee, our senior editor, and Sandipan Banerjee, our principal correspondent. I can see Abhishek the chuckle and think that this is all I've taught you as a student in the team. But I would really want to ask both of you, gents, how good is the feeling as an Indian fan going into this test series? Abhishek da?
I don't even know who all are going to remain fit before tomorrow's match.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
the
the
first
first
question.
thing. I mean,
Yeah,
the one department where India has an excess is fast bowling.
yeah,
Other than that, I don't even know.
yep, yep. Fair enough, fair enough. And perhaps the one big point that we can talk about right now going into the series, the more recent development that has taken place is Mayank Agarwal being injured in the nets. And this was some sort of a story then before we were talking about how it was a good opportunity for Mayank Agarwal to really come into his own as an opener, the opportunity that was there for him to grab with Shubman Gill being injured ahead of this series. But then came the news that he, of course, was hit in the nets and due to concussion would miss this first test match. What would be an ideal replacement? Well, there is a Rahul doing right amount of rounds in social media. And what's your take on this? Will KL Rahul, after what 2 good years outside the Indian white jersey team, where can he make a comeback into this side as an opener in this particular test series?
I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think India should open with Rohit Sharma and Ravindra Jadeja.
That's quite the choice. I am really happy to hear that. But but Abhishek, what's
I'll
your
tell you. I'll
logic
tell you.
behind this whole thing? Yeah,
Okay. First of all, see, the only reason why India is backing Rahul, I mean, the not India, the fans are or critics are backing Rahul is Rahul got 100 a month or so ago, about 15 days ago, right?
yeah,
He has not been playing red ball cricket for India for 2 years, but in this 2 year span, he has played only one serious red ball cricket match, the Ranji Trophy semi-final of 2019-20.
yeah.
That is the only red ball match he has played between his last test match and this tour match against the county selection 11. Why I am speaking about Jadeja? If Rahul is in contention, Rahul batted at number 5 and scored 100. Jadeja batted at number 6 and scored 75. In the second innings, Jadeja batted at 4 and scored 51 before retiring. Why is Jadeja not? Why is Jadeja not the better option given that he gives you the additional bowling option? India has done this before. Use a bowler at the top. I am not going back to Vinu Mankad days. The Indian coach is the perfect example. Ravi Shastri has one of the best batting records in England among Indians as an opener. I am not that is, but even that you may say is 20th century. 2002, India pushed Sehwag to the top. India pushed Bangar to the top, right? And they coped. Sehwag got 100. Bangar at Headingley scored a famous innings. 5 years down the line, India used Karthik as an opener. None of these cricketers started their career as an opener. Jadeja's batting improvement is undisputed. He has been probably the most improved batter in the Indian cricket team, most improved batter over the past few years. And if you play Jadeja, you get the fifth bowler. The pitches in England take turn in August. We have seen that. We have seen that in the 100. The pitches are assisting spinners. I know this is a different format, but pitches are offering turn. And if I mean, we saw in 2018 as well, Ashwin got injured, but had he not been injured, I mean, it could have been different. I would pick Jadeja as an opener with Rohit Sharma, and then pick four other batters: Rishabh Pant, Ashwin, and three fast bowlers. That is my team.
That is quite an exciting take, actually. Sandipan, what's your choice with this? I know that you have been a Jadeja fan as well, not perhaps as vocal as the other ones, but you've been an admirer of his batting. Do you think this will be a brilliant choice for India to go into this Test match with?
Well, I am a fan of Jadeja in the team, but I would like to differ here with Abhishek that I'd rather go with more conventional options of probably Hanuma. I will probably prefer Hanuma Bihari to open the innings here. But I really want the Indian team management to somehow accommodate Ravindra Jadeja in the 11. I mean, you have to play Jadeja. So I don't know. They can play Jadeja, but they can even ask Chetasar Pujara to open, right? So if you don't want to play Hanuma Bihari and drop one of your prime all-rounders, then you have to ask someone like Pujara to open the innings. But it's a tricky situation. So that it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what combination India picks here. Last time, yes, the pitches assisted spin, but at Nottingham, if you can remember the Nottingham Test,
Yes.
there's rain around, and Hardik Pandya, I think took 5-wicket haul in both innings, and he scored half century. So basically, that one all-rounder's role, which
Yes.
will be missing this time around. Probably there was in the press conference there are talks about grooming Sardul Thakur for that role, but I don't know how much ready he is to do that role. But India will miss that kind of a seam bowling all rounder over here, because it adds a lot of value to this team. So rather than Jadeja opening the innings, I have my doubts whether he can survive against the Duke's ball against on the likes of Anderson and Broad. So maybe I will go with more conventional option of either of Pujara or Hanuma Bihari to open the innings alongside Rohit.
Yeah.
And remember, this is also Rohit's first time. Rohit will be opening in England for the first time. So apart from that Test Championship final, in first full-fledged tour.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the top there is some slight issues are there, I guess. But I think Pujara did that role when I think in one of the games in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Uh,
But that is a different thing.
Different conditions, I know, but he batting at number 3 is as good as opening the innings, right? Because you have to face the
He opened in the second innings of the tour match.
Yeah. So I guess the team, I think a lot will depend on who opens, because the combination revolves around that. So probably I will pick, if you don't want to take Hanuma Bihari and sacrifice one of your all-rounders, then I'll probably pick Pujara to open the innings alongside Rohit.
Definitely a big question for Team India as well as Indian fans going into the series, who's going to open with Rohit Sharma. But given the keywords that have been used in the discussion so far, a seam bowling all rounder, someone who can bat up the order when it comes to the situation, an all rounder who can bat up the order when the situation demands. Ben Stokes has to come into mind. Last year against West Indies series, if I remember correctly, was in the second innings where England needed to score some runs on board pretty quickly. He was promoted up the order and opened the innings with Joss Butler, and will be dearly missed by England in this series. But then again, the bigger discussion here, and I would like you both chance to take to give your views on this one, is how openly the discussion around players and their mental health has come into the spotlight, given the events that have happened across the world, not just in cricket, but also in terms of the Olympic Games, how athletes have been very vocal about it, how a sort of community has been formed when it comes to this discussion. And more importantly, the discussion itself, given that in COVID times, athletes have to go through a lot more than just play on the field. What's your take on this, Abhishek?
I'll tell you something. A few years ago, David Frith wrote a book, Silence of the Heart. It chronicles a list of first class cricketers who had committed suicide. I think, had cricketers started speaking up about mental health 100 years ago, that book would not have been written. It would not have been necessary. See, understand this, cricket is a lonely sport because no other sport involves hours of waiting in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I mean, like cricket. Understand this. Earlier, this used to be an even more, I mean, an even bigger problem because there would be seasons and off seasons. Professional cricketers' livelihoods depended on
Yeah.
cricket. So in the off seasons, often there were months of inactivity. Some found some employment, some did not. That problem was slowly taken care of, but recently, of late, I mean, cricket is still a lonely sport,
Yeah.
and I mean, it is not that everyone, unlike say football, where everyone gets involved for 90 minutes and you're done. You can go back, go home, or I mean, cricket is a different sport, and the chances of, I mean, loneliness affecting your mental health is much higher, and more cricketers should speak up. Understandably, uh, there are very few Indians speaking up on this because mental health is still considered a taboo in these parts of the world. But I hope the Indians do. I was, I was really happy when I saw Ravi Shastri tweeting in support of uh, the Olympians. I think Stokes and also Simone Biles, because the Indian coaching mentality is whatever happens, you have to overcome. Play, I mean, handle it, be tough, handle it the hard way. Shastri is probably the most high-profile coach in the country. If Shastri could break that norm, it will set an example for coaches at junior level and coaches in other sports. I hope that does. Because cricketers alone can't solve the problem. The entire system has to address this, and coaches play a major role in that. Cricketers, their family, the fans, the coaches. I think another major thing that happened was Virat Kohli returning from Australia to be with his family um, when he had a daughter. So I think more than Kohli's decision, that set a very important precedence that cricketers have are entitled to a life outside the sport, and that is very important because see, when you are on tours, there are a happy team always gets together. A winning team, when a team is winning, everyone is happy, but when a team is losing, it's down. Conflicts begin. Cricketers become lonelier and lonelier, and there is no immediate return to your comfort zone. So that is where it creeps in, and these breaks are actually setting precedents, and which that is very important.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed, and it was very beautiful as well, Sandipanda, coming on to you talk about what Joe Root said yesterday in the press conference, that I just want my friend to be okay, and that's when the human emotions really come into play, telling that cricket series is perhaps what the fans are looking forward to, but more than that, the players as well as the management is backing Ben Stokes here to take as much time as he wants to recover from this. Pretty good from Rajasthan Royals franchisee as well to come into support, even though via social media post in the public forum. But it was really beautiful to see how the players and the management have backed and reacted to this whole situation.
Yes, it is because mental health, they take mental health as a serious issue on that part of the world, whether it is England, Australia, or all those countries. So that's why their attitude towards addressing this issue is different. Also, if we talk about, in recent years, this whole bio bubble fatigue is, you know,
Yes.
earlier what we used to see during tours, that cricketers, at least during non-match days, they can go out, they can have some food outside with family, friends. But now with the bio bubble thing coming up, it is not even possible. So basically, they are either playing, practicing, and then coming back to the hotel. And nowadays, they don't even share rooms. Otherwise,
Uh,
if Saurav Ganguly, yeah, like Saurav
no, no, no.
Ganguly's
See,
first room partners. I mean, Saurav Ganguly's first room partner was Navjot Singh Sidhu. So if you imagine, if you can have someone like Navjot Singh Sidhu as your room partner during a tour, so I think that whole thing is, this bio bubble thing. I think this is taking a too much toll on these cricketers, and they are multi-format cricketers. Like someone like Ben
yes.
Stokes, he plays all the formats. And look at the schedule. For
Yeah.
for example, look at the schedule of this Indian team. They are in England right now. Then they will go to UAE, play the IPL, then the T20 World Cup. That immediately after coming back, their home season starts with New Zealand and other teams are coming. Then at the end of the year, they are going to South Africa. So I mean, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. And even now, we can understand. Like, we are not going to the regular offices. We are just working from home, and it is taking a toll of our mental health. And imagine those players who are from whom the expectation is huge whenever they go onto the field, and so I guess huge. I think we should talk more about this, as I completely
Yes,
agree with
definitely.
Abhishek here. We should definitely talk about, in fact, not only just cricketers, in every profession, mental health
Absolutely.
needs to be taken care of very seriously.
Definitely,
Especially,
it
I mean,
needs to.
cricketers. I don't think I can only imagine they are just transferred from one bio bubble to another to another. See, suppose an Indian cricketer, consider Kohli. He'll next be transferred to the IPL bio bubble, and then the T20 World Cup, and then he'll probably get a break, and then there are series against New Zealand, I think. So there's no break, and this used to happen earlier as well, but there was actually they could actually live a normal life on even on match days. Say after the match, a cricket match gets over at say 5 or 6, depending on which country you're playing in, and after that you can go to your room, then step out. That stepping out is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty
Even
serious
now,
indeed.
before the COVID, these at least at least at home, obviously when they play at home, there is no point of stepping out, otherwise they would be mobbed by the fans. In countries like New Zealand, in countries like now, even in England, they are getting mobbed. So basically, what happens with, especially with the Indian cricketers, they are getting very little time for themselves. So that's why I think Virat Kohli was talking about this in the press conference today, that the break they got, it was it was much needed. I mean, they said it was probably better than having a couple of warm up games. Then they can use this break to refresh. So I guess that's the term, I think, very important there. Whether the players are refreshed or not, they are recharged or not. And Virat Kohli said that yes, we are fully prepared, fully recharged, and for this 5 test series.
And the English
So
cricketers have been playing non-stop
yeah,
when they
yeah,
have not been playing IPL. They played New Zealand, two test matches against New Zealand. They played the county championship. Some of them played the 100, and then now
Yeah.
they are. I mean, the Royal London One Day Cup, and I mean, there's no break. I mean, and then there was the T20 Blast. So they are actually playing a full domestic season with 7 test matches and domestic cricket in 4 different formats.
Yeah.
That is the workload on the England cricketers. Of course, they will be stressed out.
Yeah. Pretty serious discussion, and one that actually demands a separate podcast of its own. So yeah, we probably will keep this in mind as well come the Cricket News podcast season 4, because it's a discussion that needs to be taken to a whole different level with a whole lot more talk about just mental health. But then moving on, we have our viewer who has asked a question from both of you as well as me. And I perhaps think that the answer to this is quite simple and quite the same for all of us. Ravindra Jadeja और रविचंद्रन अश्विन, इन दोनों में से कौन खेलेंगे? सवाल है विनोद सतावरा जी का, जो कि फेसबुक के माध्यम से हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं. संदीपन, आई थिंक आंसर तो हम सबको ही पता है, लेकिन फिर भी एक बार.
मेरे ख्याल से दोनों को ही खेलना चाहिए. सो अगर फॉर एग्जांपल पुजारा ओपन करते हैं, तो देयर विल बी डेफिनेटली अ प्लेस फॉर रविंद्र जडेजा इन द 11.
Yeah. It will be very exciting to see.
Do we know that? Can we say for certain that Jadeja? We know that Rohit will play. We know that Kohli and Rahane will play. Right.
Pant will play.
So Pant will no. There'll be 3 specialist batters.
Yeah.
So there is space for 2 more, and the only option is a 3rd batter ahead of Jadeja. So does the Indian squad have 3 good enough batters to leave Jadeja out? Are there 3 batters better than Jadeja? That is the question we should ask. I don't.
What are the options? What are the options? That is, one is Abhimanyu Ishwaran, Hanuma Bihari,
Ishwaran, Rahul and Pujara. If Pujara is a certainty, now we are down to Ishwaran, Vihari and Rahul.
Yeah.
Are 2 out of these people better than Jadeja? That is the question.
I mean, yeah. So the thing is, are the 2 of these batsmen add better value than Jadeja? I guess no.
There will be. See, this is August, and there is often turn in August in England pitches.
Yeah.
I won't say massive turn, but there is turn. 2 spinners will help.
But Nottingham, I have my doubts whether it will turn a lot or not. But definitely, if we play at probably Manchester, probably Oval, definitely it will turn.
Oval, to definitely.
Yeah.
And also, it would be pretty difficult to leave both Jadeja and Ashwin out, given that Ashwin has also found a tune with the bat in the recent months, especially in the home series. Kohli and coach Ravi Shastri were also convinced.
Yeah. Ashwin is a certainty.
Yeah, but even they were convinced with his batting in the tour of Australia as well. So definitely needs to be seen if the number of fast bowlers that India played in the World Test Championship will be the same as they did in the first Test match. The answer from us is given, but
and I also want to ask, ignoring while focusing on the bowling, these are 2 of the best spinners in the world. Why won't they play? India won in Headingley in 2002 with 2 spinners on a seaming pitch. Spinners can win matches in seaming pitches.
And it will be interesting to see how much of mental scares England are carrying from their last experience in India.
Yeah.
So
that will be some pressure. But yeah, on that note,
Parkinson is turning the white ball. Parkinson is turning the white ball at ridiculous angles on these pitches.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the videos. I think India should definitely play both of them.
Even Ashwin in the county game, for that matter, got a lot of turn. So we certainly hope as Indian viewers that he finds the same. But also on that ground, there'll be a total of 9 test matches. 4 of them have already been played between these two teams this year. I would like to ask Abhishek Daher, has it ever happened before, these two teams playing 9 test matches? Or even more importantly, these two teams playing in both their backyards in the same year?
Yes, in the winter, see, 1951-52, England toured India
Okay.
for a five test series, and that next summer, 52. So India toured England for the for four test matches. So that was 9 test matches.
9 test matches. Yeah.
But it's a
So
big thing in the current setting, given that Test cricket is not the only format, and
yes,
definitely not the only format they're talking about in England right now. So it would be pretty
Also,
big to see.
also with this series, the second cycle for World Test Championship is also starting. So there will be points for East Test match.
Yeah,
in
definitely.
fact, in fact, in 2001 and 2001, England toured India for 3 tests, and next summer, India toured England for 4 tests. So
Okay.
that's 7. But it
That's
wasn't.
it.
It was in. But the two tours happened inside a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty astonishing. So coming on to England now, I think this is something I wanted to ask you for some time now. The series hasn't even begun. It will begin tomorrow, but the build up to it, even months before, the narrative was obviously that India is going to win this one. Even the former cricketers in England, the analysts in England, we're only talking about the margin that India is going to register when they're going to win this one. What's your take on this? Can you explain this to me, like I'm a newbie cricket fan, as to why England are not being given a chance to win at home against this Indian team? Abhishek, you can go first.
I don't know. I mean, I can see England. I would say England are favorites. But also, having said that, I think whichever team survives this test series with more fit cricketers
Yeah.
will
Exactly.
win the test series. I can
Yeah.
see injuries happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So by the
So
end of the series, can you see Surya Kumar Yadav making his Test debut?
I would ideally say no, but we saw what happened in Australia.
Yeah.
It may be, I mean, the first test and the last test may have 8, 9 different players just for fitness and no other reason.
Remains to be seen. On the other hand, we have talked about India's openers, India's spinners. Now we need to talk about two more departments, India's middle order and the big three in there. When we talk about Virat Kohli, there's only just one question which has been popping into everyone's head over the last 2 years, around 2 years, the three-figure score. And the last time Virat actually toured with India in 2018 was kind of a beginning of an era, as quoted by many, even though the margin of defeat was 4-1. It didn't necessarily depict what happened on the pitch, especially with the fast bowlers and them doing the job. But Virat Kohli himself had a pretty good year in 2018. He scored 1,322 runs in 24 innings. He played the most that year as well, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee a good show with the bat. However, his fifth 100 that year was the last one that he hit away from home. And that is something that India will be keenly looking into this series, because even Cheteshwar Pujara didn't hit a single 100 during the World Test Championship timeline. Ajinkya Rahane's form at times hasn't been good the way he has been judged by people, but he was India's highest run scorer in the World Test Championship. That will be a positive to take. What do you make of the India's middle order into this series?
I think I would still back Kohli to get that 100 here. That 100 is, I don't know. I mean, I don't. I mean, hundreds will happen if you keep scoring those 70s and 80s. At some point, then he'll get 100. He's a good enough cricketer for that. We have all known that 100 will happen. He has not got 100 for some time, but I think he has played what 2 and 1 and 4, 7 test matches. gone 7-2 in New Zealand, 1 in Australia, and 4 against England at home. One of which was absurdly low scoring. So, but that's not a long period of time. I mean, if you include across formats, it seems long. But in just test matches, it's not that long a period that he has gone without 100.
South Africa also, he played 3 against South Africa.
No, but he
That-
got 100 against Bangladesh
Yeah,
at Eden Gardens. So that
Eden
happened
Gardens.
after South Africa, right?
Yeah.
After South Africa,
Yeah.
yes.
South Africa, he got that big double 100.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So, okay. So, we are talking about away hundreds or anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're talking about away
No,
hundreds.
any
The
100.
last
Away 100.
away as
he
well
was-
as that big drought.
He when did he last play?
2018 was when he
2018
got his last
England.
away 100.
England, he
Australia.
scored 100 in.
No, after
Even
that
in Australia.
Australia, he got
Australia.
100 in Perth,
Yeah.
and then he toured England, West Indies in 2019,
Yeah.
and then 2 test matches in New Zealand and 1 in Australia. That is all he had, and that Australia Adelaide, the 100 was almost happening. It was an unfortunate run out. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of time before he gets 100. Pujara, see, Pujara has got runs in Australia. He has survived in Australia. But now with either he will open or he will bat after a new opening pair, an uncertain opening pair. So he will have to assume extra responsibility, and this series may be a defining series in his career.
Yeah.
Just like the Australia tour of 2018-19. I hope this is a series of, a series of that magnitude is unlikely to happen because it has almost never happened in Indian history. The way Pujara played on that tour. But something even close to that will be good enough, will be also very important. Rahane, I don't know. Rahane has been, I don't know. I mean, though every time you think, okay, Rahane is losing form, he won't be able to retain a place in the side, he gets that 100.
Yeah.
And then every time you feel optimistic that he'll go on to score more runs, he suddenly loses form.
Yeah.
So you can't really predict, but yeah, I hope he does well.
But he was still the highest run scorer for India in the last World Test Championship cycle.
Yeah, but he also played more matches because
Yeah.
Kohli missed matches.
Yes.
Rahane did not miss matches.
Yeah. Yeah. And if India has to win, they would obviously want these 3 to fire up on all cylinders. It
And-
will be also interesting to see how the depth comes into play, as Abhishek has said, that injuries might be a factor into this series. Sandipan, can you see someone not featuring in this particular test match, the likes of Surya Kumar Yadav or likes of Hanuma Vihari, making it into this team and then obviously making it their series if the opportunity arrives?
Yeah, it's a 5-match series. So I think they will end up playing at least 2 matches. So whether I'm not, so Surya is still not in England. So Hanuma, he's there with the team. He has been playing in England for a while. Definitely, he will come into the scheme of things as the series progresses. But
And of
tomorrow,
course, Prithvi Shaw.
and then of course
Once he
Prithvi Shaw.
arrives.
Yeah.
Would be
But
some
tomorrow-
comeback for him as well in India's
unless-
white colors.
Unless someone, Rohit's partner scores a massive 100 or something, I can see Prithvi Shaw opening the moment he's available.
Yeah, but I think they will probably want him to be acclimatized a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
But because there is a gap, I think, between the second and third tests. There is a sort of gap. They get some time before the third test.
Yeah. So yes, so overall, yes, I think I agree with Abhishek here. By the end of the series, we'll see that most of the players in the Indian contingent will end up getting at least 1 match.
Shout out to Ishan Rajput, who has also asked the question who will be Rohit's opening partner. Well, Ishan, that was the first thing that we discussed in the live. And Abhishek Da has a pretty interesting choice there. I would allow him to speak by himself. Abhishek Da, if
I'll,
you would want to.
I'll say this once, and I'm saying this again. I'll still back want Jadeja to open.
I think we need a single quotation of that with somewhere in the archives we're going to save that, and perhaps if Jadeja does open, and Abhishek Da can share it on his Twitter handle and laugh all day. There you go. I predicted it earlier. So moving ahead with India, of course, bowlers, and they were pretty good in 2018. It was sort of a series where Jasprit Bumrah was only playing outside of, well, he only played outside of India until
Hmm.
2021. But then he was only playing his second big tour in 2018 after South Africa, and the bowling lineup was kind of finding their feet. They did really well in that series. And tell you what the stats show
Yeah.
us: in the 5 match series, England's bowlers took 97 wickets. India's bowlers weren't that far behind, taking 85 wickets. And their three pacers, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, and Ishan Sharma, plus the seam bowling all-rounder in Hardik Pandya, registered 58 wickets, which compared to England's three main pacers in that series, which is Stuart Broad, Jimmy Anderson, and Chris Stokes, plus the seam all-rounder in Ben Stokes, was a total of 62 wickets, so not far behind there. And also coming into this series, India have a lot more depth in their fast bowling. The big question here, elephant in the room, Mohammad Siraj, do you see him playing more test matches than probably the big three in this one?
Again, I think fitness will be an issue. I mean, whoever remains the fittest plays the most tests.
But
Tomorrow's
first
test
choice.
match,
Yeah.
first choice. See,
Ishan Sharma.
basically, I'll tell you something. These are difficult in the sense we have not seen any of them bowl since that New Zealand test match.
Yeah.
So we don't even know how well they are bowling. The only
Yeah.
people who are getting to see them are the team management in the nets. I mean, there was that match where only Bumrah and Siraj played, but even that was some time ago. We don't even know how, who is in what kind of rhythm, who is in what kind of form. So it's difficult to say. But having said that, Shami was the most impressive of the fast bowlers in the World Test Championship final.
That's fine.
And I don't know how this will go down, uh, but he, I mean, India actually bowled really well in the first innings. If you
Yeah.
understand, if you remember, Latham and Conway put up a big opening partnership. Not a massive
Yes.
partnership, but big given that a low score. It was a low score. It was a low scoring test match. What happened was throughout the partnership, the Indian fast bowlers made Conway play against the line, push him, make him push towards mid on. That is how he had got out once against England, get caught at mid on, and eventually he got caught at mid on, and they bowled at that line and length consistently. Latham didn't get that line. They bowled outside off or on off at Latham. So basically, for long spells, Ishant Shami and Bumrah maintained two lines for two different batters until they got the wicket. New Zealand got a decent opening stand, but it was a very slow opening stand. They were so consistent. Just that they did not get wickets. I think Indian fast bowlers bowled brilliantly. They just didn't get wickets. On another day, they might have got. In the fourth innings, there was a catch dropped behind the stumps.
Yeah.
Had that been taken, I don't know. So yeah,
And I remember, Sandipan, you saying before the World Test Championship final, even when we were talking about India's bowling attack then, you persisted on Mohammad Shami for a reason. It was, although his first Test match after 6 long months, Mohammad Siraj had been an integral part of India's bowling unit until then. But even then, you persisted with Shami, and he did show his quality in that first innings only when he bowled during the WTC final. So, yeah, I think with all the discussions going around, you must be feeling that it's only those big three who are going to feature in this first test match?
I think so, yes. I think at this point, if they are available, they are fit, then those three fast bowlers should play. I have seen in the social media there are talks of someone like Siraj playing ahead of Ishant Sharma, but I think Kohli will definitely, if Ishant is fit and available, Kohli will definitely pick Ishant.
I've seen hundreds of test matches involving India. This is the first time, first, not I won't say this is the first phase. This is the first test match. This is the first phase where India have four world class fast bowlers and they can't decide which one to leave out. So I think this is a problem all team managements would love to have, and
Yeah.
excess world class fast bowlers.
Yeah. And a good bit of them also, apart from the four, given what's to come after this series in the white ball section of cricket world. But even then, we have one small segment, one small fragment, one small piece in this Indian team we need to talk about. Essentially, the tour of 2018 was the beginning of his story in white ball cricket. It would take another 2 years for him to establish the aura that was being talked about him in the domestic cricket circuit until then. We are, of course, talking about India's wicketkeeper batsman, Rishabh Pant, who had quite the time hitting his first runs in Test cricket with a six. But isn't this going to be a big test for him, given that Jimmy Anderson remembers and will very vividly remember the reverse shot that he played against him in
Yeah,
Ahmedabad? These will be
yeah.
very difficult conditions to attack, especially the likes of Anderson and Broad. What do you guys think?
Um,
Well,
3 years ago, Oval, India were chasing a huge target. India
Yeah,
loses 4 wicket, 5 wickets. I have forgotten how many. Rishabh Pant comes out and plays one of the most outrageous fourth innings hundreds I have ever
114.
seen.
Yeah,
So, what pressure? I don't know. This man doesn't seem to understand things like pressure.
yeah.
If the ball is there to be hit, he hits. Even if there is a fielder in the deep, he hits.
That's what he said about
And
Nathan Lyon as well after that India tour of Australia. If the ball I found it was there to be hit, I just hit it. There was no
and
more
even he
maths.
hits it even if there is a fielder, and he clears that fielder. I
Yeah,
don't know how. See, the thing is, it is a method that is not supposed to work, but it somehow works. And if it works, who are we to complain?
the
I have
Sehwag
been
school of
backing,
batting.
yeah, I have been backing Pant since his Ranji Trophy days when he got that triple hundred. I think he scored the fastest 50 or fastest 100 in Ranji Trophy history. And I mean, even since I've been backing Pant even before he played Test cricket. I mean, during from his Ranji Trophy days, he can bat like that and he can get runs. He has got runs in England. He has got runs in Australia. So aren't these supposed to be the ultimate tests or something? I mean,
yeah, yeah. They most definitely are. Sandipan,
yeah.
your take on Rishabh Pant and what are the expectations? Because he certainly has a record, which I don't think he will keep in track, but it's one that is going to be brilliant. He has 5 Test matches to overtake Mahendra Singh Dhoni's record for most runs as wicketkeeper batter for India in 1 year. And I think he's not far behind in that tally. Just 300 some runs to be scored, and he'll be right there on top. What do you make of his year so far? He's also been India's leading run scorer across formats so far this year.
I mean, if he scored all those runs in this series, then India will win this probably 4-0, 4-0 or 5-4-1, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, Rishabh Pant needs to play a very important role here because as we have seen in this series and our previous, experiences with the Duke's ball, when the ball gets old, like 40, 50 overs, you have to attack that ball. Otherwise, you cannot play the surviving game against the Duke's ball. It does a lot for the bowlers. So someone like Rishabh, so that's why the importance of having someone like Rishabh and Jadeja down the order will help, because that at that point either the ball will be old or there will be second new ball and they can attack that. So attacking game is the way forward, especially while playing against the Duke's ball. So if you
Yeah.
don't attack, then you can survive a lot of balls, but run scoring will be difficult, and run scoring matters. So, and knowing these boys, I don't think they will. They just want to play and try their luck.
Well, if he can go down the wicket and he'll hit Neil Wagner during a time when India necessarily need to defend wickets, and just think about the runs that he has to score, he can definitely do that in this Test series. But now, quickly moving on to the positives in the opposition, the home side, England, Abhishek Da and Sandipan. What are your key points with this England team that can help them win against India in this series?
I think Ben Stokes missing out is a huge loss for them. I think that adds a lot. He adds a lot of value, multi-dimensional value in this team. So him
Yeah,
not being there, I don't know. Maybe Sam Curran needs to play the kind of role he did in the last time India when India were in England.
yeah, yeah.
Also, I have been hearing some news regarding Roddy Burns not being present in the practice session today. So Hasim Hamid, I think you can remember
Yes.
Hasim Hamid. So he was in the photos which was circulated in the social media.
Mhm.
We have seen that Hasim Hamid taking slip catches. So
Yes.
is Hasim Hamid playing tomorrow's game? But he's a typical
He has
English.
got runs. He
Yeah,
has
yeah,
got
he has
runs this
got.
summer. So
Yeah, yeah.
Even
So
even
I mean,
exactly.
he's
Burns
a,
did.
but
Even
with
Burns did for
Sibley
that matter.
and both Sibley and Hasif Hamid is like a similar kind of a player, you know. Whereas Roddy Burns is more of an aggressor, but Sibley and Hasif Hamid are like same. It's like Alistair Cook school of batting. They are from Alistair Cook school of batting.
Also, I mean, there are no injury updates yet, and
Hmm.
what is occurring me as strange is both these teams
Haven't
usually
announced.
prefer to announce their teams beforehand, which is not
Yeah,
Hmm.
something they have
Yeah.
done yet. I don't
yeah,
know why they do that in the first place, but they do.
Jofra will be missed as well. Jofra will
Yeah,
be missed
Joffrey
as
will
well.
be missed.
yeah,
But they have in the first bowling front, they have enough options. England have enough options, but their problem is batting. So
yeah,
how
yeah.
I think someone like Root is it's going to be a huge series, because England will need for look towards their captain for some batting inspirations. I think if the players, all the other players can play around Root and score some runs, and especially with now Stokes is not there, so someone like Roots needs to put his hands up and score the bulk of the runs in the series for England.
England have do not have a great top order,
Yeah.
and if India can cut through that top order at least once, then I suppose India have an advantage. But the top order should not be allowed to score runs somehow.
So
That
basically, what
those
happens?
early
Yeah.
2 3 wickets need to happen.
So the top order we faced against we bowled to I mean the New Zealand top order, the England top order is not that much settled.
No, no,
So
it
that is
really.
one opportunity India should exploit.
So many key talking points ahead of the Test series, but all of them will obviously be only complemented by the playing 11 tomorrow. And whatever we're talking about right now may not even bother the players who will come into this with a separate, fresh mindset, as Captain Virat Kohli has said ahead of this series, that winning in England is as good as winning elsewhere for him and the team. The whole culture talk that was going around in an interview with Dinesh Karthik, but it does add a lot of value. The final thing that we are going to talk about before we end this preview of ours, this big giant preview, is how this Indian team has the chance to do something which others have never done: win a series in Australia and win a series in England in the same year. That would be some achievement. Even though with Test cricket, we've certainly recently found a basis to name a world champion the best team. But winning overseas, winning in England, winning in Australia, it's never not going to be not big.
Yeah, that'll also mean England losing 2 series at home in the same summer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which, by the way, they've only lost three in the last one decade, all of them in
Mm.
separate years. 2012, I think Sri Lanka, 2014, South Africa, and
2014 was Sri Lanka.
and
2012 South
2012
Africa.
South Africa, and 2021 was New Zealand more recently.
That England Sri Lanka series was one of the best in this of the last decade. Both matches went down to the last over. In
Brilliant.
one,
Yeah.
Nuwan Pradeep batted out time to save a test match. Nuan Pradeep, who has a ridiculous batting average, and the other, Anderson was last out in the last over of the
Yeah,
test match.
yeah,
Wow.
So two very tight test matches decided that series.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Coming on to the point, but then again, Abhishek Da, big achievement for the Indian team, waiting just to be taken.
Of course, yeah, that goes without saying. But again,
And
this is going to be a contest between two very strong pace attacks and two not so great batting lineups.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
I think for
expect.
me,
So
yeah,
what that means is we should expect a low-scoring test series, and every hundred will be extremely crucial because hundreds won't be easy to come by.
Maybe not
so
as low scoring as a certain test match, which was not played in the green surroundings that we are talking about these days. It was not so grow green test match. But yes, Sandipan, you were adding to it.
yeah, I think I can remember Kohli after the end of the 2018 I mean Test series in a press conference at the Oval post-match press conference. He said that this is the best Indian team in last 15 20 years. If India can manage to win this series, then I think we have to agree that yes, this is probably India's best Test team in last 20, 20 years. So
See,
and
one
of
thing
course,
is for the no
yeah.
say.
No, and at the end of this year, India will be going to South Africa, where they will be once again the heavy favorites to win their first ever series in South Africa, Test series. I'm talking about.
I hope that happens.
Yeah. So
See, one thing is, I don't know. I mean, this team. See, India sent a parallel team to Sri Lanka. This 24 or 25 Indian cricketers are in England, and about 24, 25, I don't know the exact count, went to Sri Lanka, including the net bowlers and everyone. India lost three matches in Sri Lanka out of six, and in those three matches, they had to leave out a lot of key players. In the
mm,
ODI, the dead rubber ODI, it was by choice, and in the two T20s, it was not by choice. So basically, India did reasonably well in Sri Lanka with a second string squad. So we are talking about 45, 50 cricketers across these two squads. I've never seen an Indian team, I mean, a stage in Indian cricket where there have been about 50 cricketers whom you can call international standard. This is unprecedented.
and it is because of the IPL, I guess.
IPL and BCCI. I mean, a lot of experts have been saying this. BCCI has also done this. India has played more A matches
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
any other sides in the
absolutely.
past decade. India's second team was always under. I mean, it was always working.
Yeah, and all those shadow tours, So whenever they are
Yes,
touring England,
yes,
the A tour was so even this time also there was supposed to be a shadow A team,
yes, yes,
but got cancelled due to the COVID and the Sri Lanka tour.
Yeah.
So I think the pipeline is well maintained. So I
yes.
think the whole pipeline thing is well maintained by the BCCI. So we have to give credit to the BCCI for this.
Yeah. Well, no one can argue with that. Not even the country where India are going to feature in this five-match test series, both of them giving their own displays or what we call depth demonstrations in the last few days. Would be quite the exciting series, this one. And just like this mega preview that has exceeded 53 minutes, I think our graphic editors and our video editors are going to kill us for the number of snippets we are going to ask them for, given this preview has gone so big. But that's not going to stop us doing these previews again and again, and we will be here at Cricket News covering everything about this. For more of the exciting articles, you can head on to our website cricketnews.com. For more of the updates via our social media graphics, you can stay tuned to our profiles, social profiles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, as well as share chat. And for everything about cricket, basically just stay tuned to Cricket News. Thank you so much, James, for joining us. Thank you so much, our audience, for joining us in this preview. Stay tuned to